Today, we are diving deep into one of the most fundamental human anxieties, the fear of being powerless. We're going to trace a path from that universal fear all the way to a state of unshakable inner stability.
So, here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll get a handle on this universal fear. Then, we'll look at 2 real stories to see how it plays out. After that, we'll talk about the cure, what the actual goal is, and finally, we'll explore this incredible idea of literally becoming the light.
All right, let's start with part 1, a universal fear. This isn't just some passing feeling. We're talking about a deep psychological imbalance that's really at the heart of so much of our inner struggle.
I want you to just take a second and think about it. Can you remember a time when you felt totally, completely helpless? Like there was nothing you could do to change what was happening? That feeling, that's a core human experience, and it's the key to everything we're about to explore. So what is this fear really? Well, the sources we're looking at trace it back to an imbalance in the heart chakra. That's our spiritual center for love and moral balance. And when it gets knocked off kilter, our natural desire for things to be okay gets twisted. It becomes this desperate need to control everything around us, to impose order, to judge others, even to get revenge, all just to feel like we're in charge again.
The problem is, this fear traps us on this totally imaginary scale. On one side, you've got control, and on the other, helplessness. We spend our lives trying to stay on the control side, thinking that our self-worth is some kind of shield that can protect us from feeling vulnerable. But it's a game you can't win. And living in this state of fear has real consequences. It causes us to accumulate what our source calls spiritual mass. There are 2 types. First, there's moral mass, which is like the karmic baggage from actions that break trust and harmony. And then there's volitional mass, and that's the heavy spiritual exhaustion that comes from trying to micromanage every single second of your life. Okay, that might all sound a little bit abstract, so let's make it real. Let's look at 2 very different stories that show exactly how this fear can take root in someone's life. So let's meet William and Henry. They are both struggling with the exact same core fear of powerlessness, but it shows up in completely opposite ways. William, he internalizes it. It leads to this feeling of being frozen, of being paralyzed. Henry, on the other hand, does the opposite. He externalizes it. He has this frantic, constant need to control things and get validation from the outside world. For William, it all goes back to this really vivid memory from when he was a kid. Picture it. He's at the kitchen table, and there's this thick, suffocating silence between his parents. He feels this terrible weight in his chest. He desperately wants to fix it, to make it better, but he's just a kid. He can't. He's paralyzed. And that feeling of helplessness gets burned into him. Now, years later, William comes up with this amazing analogy. He calls it the ocean of suffering. He realizes that true powerlessness isn't about not having control. It's about not having clarity. He says if you see people drowning in their pain and you dive in, desperate to save them, well, now all 3 of you are drowning. The only way you can really help is to find what he calls a firm plateau, a place of calm, detached awareness, and offer a hand from there without getting swept away yourself. Now let's switch over to Henry. Remember, he's the guy externalizing his fear, needing everything to go his way just to feel okay. His big breakthrough was this huge revelation. The only thing he could actually, truly control was his own attachment to things. His peace had nothing to do with whether the world behaved the way he wanted. It was all about his ability to let go of his expectations. So, if this fear is the sickness, what's the cure? Well, this brings us to the real turning point here. And it's not just some quick fix. We're talking about a whole new way of being. The cure is called mindful attention, and it's really simple, though not always easy. It's the act of using your will to just watch what's happening inside you, to observe your thoughts and fears without judging them. That steady observation is what breaks the spell. It interrupts those automatic stories of helplessness that our minds are so good at telling us. This slide shows the shift perfectly. You're basically getting off that limited, painful scale of control versus helplessness. Mindful attention isn't something you can measure or use up. It's an immeasurable quantity, a quality of your being. You're not trying to win the old game anymore. You're playing a completely different one. I absolutely love this metaphor. Think of mindful attention like a compass. It always points in one direction, toward awareness, toward clarity. But here's the thing.
There's no destination you're supposed to arrive at. The path itself is infinite. It's not a job you have to finish, it's just a direction you keep reorienting yourself toward, moment by moment.
Okay, so if mindful attention is the path, where does it lead? What's the goal of all this? This brings us to the ultimate destination of the journey, a state of pure awareness, becoming the silent witness to your own life. Now, this is a really big concept, so stick with me. Pure awareness isn't the same as our normal consciousness, which is always aware of something, aware of a thought, a sound, a feeling. No, this is the fundamental background of reality itself. It's described as self-luminous. It's like the light in a room that lets you see everything in it, but you can't really see the light itself. It's the silent, unchanging intelligence that everything happens in. And here's the perfect analogy to get it. Our mind creates a sense of self, an I, but that personality, that story of me, is just a reflection in the mirror of awareness. We get so obsessed with the reflection, right? Polishing it, judging it, worrying about it. But the whole point is that you are not the reflection. You are the mirror itself. You are the glass, always whole, always unchanged, no matter what it's reflecting. And that realization leads us to our final section, the ultimate revelation in this whole process, becoming the light. And this is where things get really fascinating, because the spiritual ideas we've been talking about start to connect with some wild, speculative science.
Okay, so what is this number on the screen? 613 terahertz. That is an insanely high frequency of light. And according to some cutting-edge theories, it might just be the specific frequency that's linked to consciousness actually manifesting physically inside our brains.
The theory behind this is called the dynamical Casimir effect. Now, to put it really simply, it suggests that these tiny little structures inside our neurons, called microtubules, could be vibrating at that incredible frequency. And the idea is that these vibrations could literally shake the empty space around them and cause particles of light, photons, to just pop into existence from nothing. So in this view, our awareness is a form of light, generated inside our own heads. When you fully realize that your true nature is this awareness, this pure light, something incredible happens. That constructed I, the reflection in the mirror we talked about, it just dissolves. And when the observer dissolves, all the inner conflict, all the struggle, all the fear, it just stops. And your entire perception of reality just flips. The world isn't a series of problems you have to solve anymore, or a system you have to control. Instead, it becomes a revelation, something that you just receive, in a state of pure, unconditional presence. And all of this brings us to the final, simplest, and most profound recognition there is. It's not a thought, it's not a belief, it is a direct knowing. I am light. What if the end of the entire struggle with powerlessness is just realizing what you were all along?